Mr. President, I rise to congratulate my colleague, the co-chair of the Joint Economic Committee, for her report on the importance of contribution of exports to our economy and the Export-Import Bank. This report that she is issuing today, which has a picture of cargo container ships leaving the port of Miami, I could say that this picture could be any number of ports around the United States of America, and certainly in my state, where 1 in 3 jobs is related to trade. I really appreciate the Joint Economic Committee highlighting at this point in time how important the export economy is to the U.S. economy. And my colleague comes from a similar state where we like to say that we make a lot of great manufactured products, and we're very proud that they are sold in the international marketplace, but now is no time to basically curtail a credit agency's ability to help make those sales a reality when we've had fabulous U.S.-made product. So I very much appreciate the Joint Economic Committee's release on this report. It is showing that our economy, even though we faced a very disastrous financial collapse 6 years ago, that a report basically shows that last week the trade deficit continues to decline. And a headline just recently said trade deficit is at a 6-month low as exports climb. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that a growing middle class around the globe is an excellent opportunity for us to sell U.S. manufactured products. In fact, the middle class is going to double over the next 15 years. So that's a great opportunity for us to take American-made products and getting them into this marketplace. In fact, last year, American companies exported more goods and services totaling $2.3 trillion in value, 13.5% of our gross domestic product. So that's a step in the right direction, but that is being threatened if Congress doesn't reauthorize this important credit agency to make sure that these deals get closed. And that's why today we're here to make sure that a long-term reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank is implemented. Now, I know that we already have about 240 members of the House of Representatives who are on record saying they support a long-term extension of the Export-Import Bank. I know there are many senators here in the U.S. Senate that support that. So why is this taking so long? Some people are even suggesting that we could do just a 2-month extension or 3-month. Well, I can tell you how ridiculous that idea is, because it doesn't give any certainty and predictability to businesses who are trying to close deals. In fact, one business exporter from Texas said, quote, "The Export-Import Bank is absolutely essential to growing and maintaining our business growth, and recent reports of the bank's future have already impacted our bottom line. Our customers need certainty to continue many of their sales abroad." So this individual Texas company is such a reflection of the fact that exports are U.S. jobs. In fact, it's $2.3 trillion in goods and services, and 11.3 million jobs in the United States are related to exports, many of those in manufactured products. So why would we take and risk these kinds of numbers with the uncertainty of a credit agency that helps close these deals? Why would we even suggest, with that many jobs and that much economic impact at stake, why would we suggest that we only want to reauthorize it for a couple of months? I think that's a very wrong-headed approach. So we've heard from many other companies, one from Georgia, which was able to increase its annual sales roughly 500,000 to over 20 million in just a few years, and it was able to do so with the Export-Import Bank. So we have 21 days left to get this right and to help our economy continue to grow, but we have to do something here in the United States Senate, and that is pass the reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank. Well, while we were home in August, we heard many people talk about this. In fact, I'd like to put up a few newspaper headlines that we heard around the country. One from the Roanoke Times, which was an editorial that said, "In our view, small businesses need this," and called for the reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank. Another newspaper, the Wichita Eagle, editorialized in support, reauthorized the Ex-Im Bank. And the Columbus Dispatch, Ohioans benefit from the Export-Import Bank. So these are just 3 of editorials heard all around the country that are asking us to reauthorize this important credit agency and make sure that we're giving small business and manufacturers the tools that it takes to export. But my colleague, who is the Joint Economic Committee chair, brought up an even more specific point, which is where are we going to be in competition as it relates to China when they're chasing economic opportunity all around the globe. In fact, an editorial that was in the Chicago News Tribune on August 15th said, quote, "Sub-Saharan Africa's economy is growing about 5.4% a year, outpacing the global rate of 3.5%. So here's Africa, lots of economic opportunity, and it was home to many very fast-growing economies in Angola, Nigeria, and Ethiopia. So they go on to say that, quote, "The Export-Import Bank plays a vital niche role in the U.S. economy because it backs up commercial banks, often when they can't find other people to finance those deals. And it is selling goods in developing countries," end quote. That's from the Chicago Tribune. So newspapers around America get it. This is a key tool for us to access new opportunities that are emerging in developing countries. And the question is, China's already there. They're selling product in. They're using their credit agency to help close deals. Why? Because a lot of banks are uncomfortable, either with the size of the deal, the lack of financial players in those emerging markets, and the inability to get these deals closed without the export bank and its assistance. Another editorial that was in the Boston Globe actually talked about a U.S. company that lost a deal because our inability to make a decision here. Quote, California company lost $57 million contract this year because of ideological posturing in Washington, end quote. It's a self-inflicted wound. I'm sorry, quote, end quote, it's a self-inflicted wound. They are talking about a firm that, quote, lost its bid to sell technology that was going to be used in the Philippines only because the Korean competitor could guarantee that their export-import bank would be there. So that's another example of we're not even waiting right now to have the negative impact. We're already having the negative impact because we're not getting this done. So it's very important that we make sure that we reauthorize the Export-Import Bank. As one company in my state said, which is the Northwest Ingredient Company, that, quote, "The loss of export insurance by the Export-Import banks would be devastating to my business, that a short-term extension of the Export-Import Bank does not provide the certainty that we need to finance these deals," end quotes. So I think that this is so much what we need to be focusing on, Mr. President. I appreciate my colleague, the Joint Economic Committee's contribution to this report. And she talked again about the specifics of what other countries are doing. This chart shows you the percentage of credit agency resources against the country's GDP, how much they're investing in selling their products around the globe. So we can see what India, China, France, Germany are doing to basically dwarf what we're doing as far as making sure that our products are sold around the globe. Mr. President, I wish the financial market was there to help close these transactions. But just as we have a small business administration that helps get financial backers to back small businesses, the Export-Import Bank helps U.S. manufacturers sell their products overseas. We have too much of a supply chain in the United States of America with manufacturing in aerospace, in agriculture, and in automobiles to give it all away by simply not reauthorizing the Export-Import Bank in a timely fashion. So I again appreciate the co-chair of the Joint Economic Committee in the release of a report focusing on why exports are so important to our economy, and I yield the floor.